Well, good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning, whenever you're watching this program. And welcome to Porch Talk. This is a live call-in show. I'm Paul W. Marino. For reasons entirely unknown, my co-host Eugene Michaelenko is not with me. So I'm going to be doing a shorter show, about a half an hour. I may go over, who knows. But if you have a comment, feel free to give me a call at 664-4408. And last week, 2 weeks ago, we had the Hoosick River Revival here, and we had a grand old time talking, and we did not do the local history picture. So Joanne, if you would please put it up behind me, or in front of me. There we go. Now, this photo contains two theaters. One, of course, has an X on it. And the question is, what are the names of these two theaters? There are two names that I will accept for each of them. One is more popularly known by this name, and the other name is only known to those who have been on a Main Street walk with me, or a Center Street walk, or has visited my website. The other theater also has two different names, its proper name and the name that my father knew it by. So if you have a guess about either theater, or preferably both, please give me a call here at 664-4408. Unless you're watching it when it's playing back pre-recorded, because then you won't get through to me. So, yes, there I am again. So, what I had planned for tonight was to look at some of the photos we didn't get to last week. So, Joanne, if you would put the first photo up in front of me, coming from the computer. There we go. Okay, you actually saw this one last week, if you were watching last week. This is looking east toward the Eclipse Mill. I'm sorry, not the Eclipse Mill. Oh my goodness. The Eagle Mill, which was actually on Union Street. There is a former gas station there now that's fenced off. But this photo was taken in 1911, and if you look in front of the mill, you can see there is a stone wall built across there. And that was what the city had for retaining walls up until about 1950. Or actually, no, not until 1950, until after the Korean War. And I would love to have been there when this photo was taken, to be actually able to wade in the river, soak my feet in there on a hot day, which is something we can't do anymore. Now, this is another view of the river. This is actually looking south from, I believe, on top of the little tunnel. The buildings that you see on the right, on the left, with the smoking chimney, that's the James Hunter Machine Company. The buildings on the right are what's now Heritage State Park. And you see the track coming off that divides into 3 tracks. Those are the tracks that used to go into and through Heritage State Park. Oh, and this photo was taken, I believe, in the 1890s. And what you see in the foreground is the railroad crossing that that the footbridge replaced. All right, this is looking east along the Hoosick River toward North Adams Center, and this is the confluence of the 2 heads of the river. What you see there behind the second expansion tank in the middle of the screen is Building 6 of what is now Mass MoCA. And the 2 expansion tanks were there as part of the North Adams Gas Company. And the buildings in front of them are the former Johnson textile mill. Now, here is the same confluence after the flood control chutes were put in. You can still see the Johnson mill. You can still see the 2 expansion tanks. And there's the confluence where the 2 rivers come together. And I think that was the last part of the chutes to be done. Now, this is between Heritage State Park. You can see Building 6 there on the left, and the garage, former garage, where Subway is. There in the foreground, you can just see the posts there for crossing the bridge. And what you see here in the middle is there is a cofferdam to channel the river through where the wall has already put in, the wall and the floor, and they're working on adding that on the other side. Isn't this exciting? Now, this is a house on Union Street. I think the house is still there, but this is after one of the floods. Most of the pictures in this folder are, of course, flood pictures. These are people packing up to get out of the way of the flood. I do not know precisely where the photo was taken, although if I had to guess, my guess would be Willow Dell. There were hundreds of people made homeless by these floods. And here is the area of North Adams commonly known as the Swamp, and this is why. This is actually Lower Ashland Street. If you look to the right and in the back, you can see the edge of, excuse me, the edge of the Clark Biscuit Company bakery. And if you look above the roof lines, you can see the observation tower, the concrete observation tower that was built on that roof. I wish I had been able to get up there and take some pictures from up there. It would have been awesome. This is Beaver Street. with the flood still going on. And I believe we are looking south. So the river would have come in from up on the right and then went down this way. This is Brooklyn Street. No, this was not done by the river. This was done by the little brook that flows by there. And as you can see, it dug the street out right down to the bedrock. Now, to be truthful, I don't know if the street was, excuse me, doesn't want to come out yet, if the street had been paved at this point or not. It looks to me as if it was not. This is down near Brown Street. In fact, I believe this is Brown Street immediately on the left in the foreground. That's the Johnson Mill there. And you can see how high the water was in the river and how easily it overflowed. To tell the truth, I'm not sure how deep the water was there normally. I would guess it was maybe 6 feet, if that. And that's just accounting for the stone retaining walls. And this explains, well, this demonstrates why when they put the chutes in, they lowered the floor of the chutes down to 10 or more feet deep, and then widened the stream so that there would be plenty of room for this water to run through, as there was when Irene came through town. I remember going out the next day to take pictures when the water had gone down, but the chutes were still running pretty full, and the song Irene Goodnight kept running through my head. This is, I believe, in the West End. I don't remember precisely where. I cannot see the titles of the pictures here. This is Eagle Street, looking north toward the river. The only building, the only building I recognize here is on the far left. That's the former rectory for St. Francis Church. This is also Eagle Street looking south toward Main Street. So it's dim, but you can see the Flatiron block. You can see St. Francis Church, and you can also see, I think it's the Methodist Church there. Not the Methodist Church that's there now, but one that came after it. I'm sorry, one that came before it. Again, this is Eagle Street. And this is looking north toward the river. You can see the Eagle Mill there on the right. And this is once more Eagle Street with the cars driving through it, which apparently you could do with a Model T, but you can't do with a modern car. Unless you were thoughtful enough to put an extension on your exhaust pipe so the exhaust came out up near the roof. And again, that's the St. Francis Rectory in the background on the right. And if you're really tired of listening to me babble on, please feel free to give me a call, 664-4408. And remember, if you can guess one name of either, or better yet, both theaters, you get bragging rights for the next 2 weeks. This is looking at the river, pre-flood chutes, but they've got concrete walls in there. That's River Street on the left, and we're looking at straight ahead at Building 6, and of course to the right is one of those compression tanks. And this, of course, is the Eclipse Dam. And I think this is the new dam, but I really don't know for sure. I'd have to look at the dates. But in flood, it's absolutely glorious. This is one of the buildings on the Eclipse Mill that was originally there. This part of the building is now gone, though not because of the flood. This is the footbridge that used to connect Front Street with the Eclipse Mill. So people going to work didn't have to walk all the way down to Union Street, come around and up. They could actually go from their homes down the steps and across that footbridge. This, I believe, is looking from River Street, though I'm not really sure. And this is Main Street. I believe we are looking northwest from the corner of Bank Street. And this, excuse me, I really don't know where this picture was taken. But again, you can see the, oh, drat. Didn't mean to do that. Again, you can see the stone retaining walls. Okay, this is the Protection Street Bridge in the West End. Thank goodness the bridge was safe. And this is the lower end of River Street. I believe the photographer was standing close to the Brown Street Bridge. And you can see there the house taken off its foundations. This is from River Street looking across at Marshall Street. That's Building 1 of Mass Mocha on the right, and on the left, that is the former Samson Shoe Mill. This is looking up toward the Eclipse Dam from, I believe, the corner of Union Street. And I believe this is, I think this is Brooklyn Street, looking south down the street. This is Beaver Street, looking at some of the worker housing. I do not remember where this one was taken. This to me looks like the West End, probably looking east. This again is the West End. I love that truck. This is once more the West End, I think 1937. And I'll bet once they got that car in the foreground righted and dried out the motor, it probably could be driven away. More in the West End. The street was, I believe, paving bricks at the time. Oh, who knows? It might have been cement. West End again. I believe the building in the right foreground is the Holy Family Church. So we're actually looking west toward Williamstown. More in the West End, I believe this is the corner of Protection Avenue. And I do wish someone would call in with a guess about the theaters. Good stuff there. I'm not sure where this one was taken. Again, this is the river. River Street is on the far side, and you can see all that flotsam pressed up against the bridge. An interesting time to be alive. This building is no longer with us. This is the, this is the railroad depot, whose name will come to me when it after the show is over, of course. This is Willow Dell, post-flood. Union Street, looking up, the dam would be on the left, past that wall. And there you can see in the foreground that it was paved with paving bricks. This is looking up Union Street near Willow Dell. This is Union Street near the dam. More Union Street. This is a line of water carriers, and my guess would be that they were there to refresh the men that were working at the floods. Willow Dell again, I think. Yes, because I can see the tower from Barbara Leather there on the mid-left. Willow Dell again. More Willow Dell. And we're running out of time here. Now, this is one of my favorite flood pictures. This is Willow Dell, I think 1937. This gives you just a sense of how the hill in the background where Drury High School, where Cold Grove Park Elementary is now, when they built the first Drury Academy, they had to cut that hill down 17 feet, and then 17 feet more to build the second Drury Academy. That hill was built up by flotsam and jetsam thrown up there by the river at the end of the last ice age, and it just threw things up there and built up that hill. And when they cut down the first 17 feet, they found a log that had been deposited there by the flood. Main Street, in case you didn't recognize it. And this is again the railroad yard. And look at that car that had been lifted off the tracks. My guess is that's a caboose. Well, I'm going to stop this for now because I've got about 3 minutes left. Joanne, would you please put the background photo on? Okay, so this is the guess. Yeah, this is the contest. You have 2 minutes, well, actually less than 3 minutes to call in. I'm going to start with the theater with the X on it. That was never actually used as a theater. In the 1920s, when that was built, the Sullivan brothers had their fingers in every theatrical pie in North Adams. If they didn't own it, they controlled it. And they built what they called the Capitol Theater as a threat to anyone else who might try to build another theater in North Adams. As I say, it was never used as a theater. In fact, my father remembered it as the Spite Theater. But in the 1920s, there was a man named Mossert who was from North Adams, but was residing in Pittsfield, and he came up with plans to build a theater on State Street that he would call the Mohawk. It was never built because of the because of the Capitol Theater. They had seats ordered, they had curtains ordered. It had a full stage with dressing rooms. They had a movie screen ordered and projectors and plans for a grand entryway through buildings they already owned on Main Street. And it was never used as a theater. It became headquarters for their and later their sisters' real estate empires. The theater behind that, you ought to be ashamed if you don't recognize it. You will recognize it as the Paramount Theater. But when it was built in 1912, it was actually named the Empire because the original Empire Theater, which was on that site, burned, and it took the Wilson House Theater and the Sullivan Block with it, and they rebuilt the theater and built that building in front of it where the grand entryway went through, and they called it the Empire Building, which it is still named today. So those are the 4 names of the 2 theaters. So thank you for joining me tonight. I'm assuming you're there. I hope you're there. And we will see you in 2 weeks here on Porch Talk. Thank you, Joanne, for directing. Thank you for watching. Yes, both of you. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.